understand that professionalism and in the corporate world, right, things are supposed to be done a certain way, but believe it or not, there are some instances and some cases where giving a 2 weeks notice may not necessarily matter and you may not need to do it. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the official Thompson Resume Writing Company YouTube channel, where I share weekly tips and hints on how to update, refresh, and or prepare your resume and LinkedIn profile for your job search, along with some career advice, some job search tips, and some personal stories of my own. I am Tamika Thompson. I am the owner and resume writer at Thompson Resume Writing Company, and I specialize in transforming bland, lackluster resumes and LinkedIn profiles into powerful selling tools that help corporate mid-level, management, and executive professionals land interviews 2 times faster. If you are new to my channel, welcome, and I'm so happy to have you here. I hope that you go ahead and join my growing YouTube community below by hitting the subscribe button. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for staying in tune with my uploads, giving me thumbs up on the videos, dropping comments down below, sending me feedback on how to do better. I just love it. For today's video, I'm going to be providing some insight on whether you should or shouldn't give a 2 weeks notice when you are leaving your job, when you're about to chuck up the deuces. Should you give them a heads up? Should you not? Let's get right into it. Standard practice for leaving your job, like leaving your job 101, always starts with an official professional resignation. You type up your letter, you used to put it in an envelope and like leave it on your boss's desk, but now of course you type it out and just send it via email. That's just, again, professionalism 101. Leaving your job 101 is typing up an official letter of resignation saying, this is going to be my last date. Thanks so much. It's been great working here. It's been an opportunity. Moving on to bigger and better things, right? And there are a couple of reasons why giving an official resignation is like the way to go, so to speak. So number one is you want to give the company a heads up that you're leaving so that they can figure out how they are going to navigate and manage not having you anymore. So is you leaving going to have a huge impact on the company? Is it going to leave a major seat unfilled? And if so, well, they need to figure out what resources they're going to pull together, or for lack of better words, who else is going to shoulder the burden in the meantime until they bring somebody else in to replace you. And all in all, it's just a professional courtesy, right? It's the right thing to do. It's the straight and narrow way to leave a job without burning bridges, having no hard feelings, not tainting your name or your reputation, just leaving on good, solid, amicable terms. However, today's times have changed. You have a lot of employees who are not giving official resignations, who are not giving 2 weeks notices. They are rage quitting jobs. They are ghosting jobs. They are straight up disappearing. They're walking out on their perceived last day and not giving their bosses or leadership any kind of notice. They are changing the rules and ship-shaping the rules and making their own moves, myself included. And to be honest, I love that for them. I understand that professionalism and in the corporate world, right, things are supposed to be done a certain way, but believe it or not, there are some instances and some cases where giving a 2 weeks notice may not necessarily matter and you may not need to do it. So without further ado, if you're considering leaving your job, here is when you should and should not give a 2 weeks notice. When it comes to giving a 2 weeks notice, you can choose to give one officially for a few reasons. Number one is professionalism, right? So resigning, like I call it resigning, quitting, where it's like you in your last day, you don't tell anybody, and then you just dip and you're just out. You can do that, but of course there are some downsides to that, right? Some people may view it as unprofessional and uncouth, but in the professional world, giving a 2 weeks notice or an official resignation, it's a courtesy, and it's about leaving on good terms, and it's about making sure that your professional brand and how you're perceived is positively. So your time with the company was good, you entered good, you worked hard, you made some impact in the company, you added a lot of value to the company, and now you are leaving gracefully, moving on to bigger and better things. So you promptly and professionally give a resignation. It makes sense, especially if your time with the company has been good, you have good relationships, positive relationships with all of your peers as well as your boss and leadership, then yeah, you definitely want to give them a heads up that you are leaving. Another reason you may want to give a 2 weeks is if you have a major role in the company and it will be really frowned upon, and it would put the company in a bad spot if you left unexpectedly. For an example, let's just say you're the CFO or you're the senior director of a really big important part of the company, and if you left, the company would be just not completely in shambles, but in disarray, and it would be a lot of dysfunction, and it would cause a lot of chaos. You don't necessarily want to do that, right? You want to give them time to figure out how they are going to find your successor and who's going to take over the role after you leave. Maybe they need to go ahead and tap into their network. Maybe they need to have HR post a position and start interviewing right away. And of course, maybe they're going to have to put your work onto some other employees in the meantime, in between time. So if your role is super impactful and you have a very visible role in the company that's really important, you are definitely going to want to give a 2 weeks notice. On the flip side of all of that, you can choose to not give a 2 weeks notice for the following reasons. So number one is if you feel like by giving your 2 weeks notice, you may face retaliation. Unfortunately, this did happen to me in my career. I called myself wanting to be professional and being the bigger person and trying to be nice, and I formally resigned. I typed up a letter and gave it to my boss and everything. And I want to say a couple of hours later, after giving her the notice, they actually fired me. And I was in shock because, of course, I'm looking forward to another paycheck. And they just decided to let me go that day, which I thought was so whack and so weird, but whatever. So if you feel like you're going to take or you're going to experience retaliation by resigning, you do not have to give a 2 weeks notice. Remember, giving a 2 weeks notice is not mandatory. It's just considered professional. But if you feel like there's going to be some backlash that is going to put you in a bad spot, either financially, or you feel as though, somebody may start a smear campaign against you or talking bad about you, you don't have to do it. Another reason why you may not give a 2 weeks notice is if you do not care about burning bridges. Listen, I hear what people say about, oh, never burn bridges, you're always going to need them or whatever, but if they are bridges that are not going to impact your life by being burned, then you don't have to worry about it. If you feel like you're never going to cross these people, in your career again, if you're never going to see them again, if you don't care to maintain relationships with any of them, then by all means, bro, sis, go ahead and torch it up. Go ahead and light it on fire. Chuck the deuces. Don't give it 2 weeks and just be out. Another reason why you may not give a 2 weeks notice is if you have hit your limit. So in a previous video that I posted to my channel, I talked about rage quitting, right? And so when you're rage quitting, when somebody does rage quit, it typically means that they have hit their limit. They've taken all that they can take from their toxic work environment. They're burned out. They don't want to be at that place. They know that they're never ever coming back. They never want to work there again, and they're just done. Of course, you don't have to hit a 2 weeks limit, you don't have to give a 2 weeks notice if that is the case, right? So if you're rage quitting, obviously, you're probably not going to be giving a 2 weeks notice. But if you feel as though you're one of those employees where it's just like you've had it, you found something else, you don't care how they fill your position, you don't care how things get done, they have been toxic to you in some way, shape, or form. Again, you're overworked, you're burned out, you're underpaid. Then by all means, just go ahead and get out of there. Last but not least, if you simply do not want to give one, right? Again, you do not have to give a 2 weeks notice. Corporate America, or the corporate world in general, wants us to feel like we have to give a 2 weeks notice because it's the right thing to do. But ultimately, you can choose to give a 2 weeks notice if you want to. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can simply go ahead and end, your last day. If you still want to be professional about it, at the end of your shift or at the end of your last day, your official last day that whatever you deem that last day will be, you can simply walk into their office, turn in your equipment, no bad blood, no hard feelings, didn't really want to give a 2 weeks notice, but Bob, Charlie, Frank, whatever, this is going to be my last day. I wish you all well. Take care. You don't have to leave on a terrible bad note. You just don't have to give a 2 weeks notice if you don't want to. I feel like there's so much pressure on employees, like us as employees, to be professional and polished and do things the right way. And sometimes I don't feel like there's enough emphasis or enough of that same pressure on companies to be worthy of us handling things in a professional manner. If you choose not to give a 2 weeks notice for the reasons that I just listed, then that's totally on you. If they want to shame you, be mad about it, be upset about it, that's fine. But the reality of the situation is, again, you don't have to give a notice if you don't want to. When you decide that it's time to go and that you're ready to leave, you really can just go ahead and head out. Turn in your equipment, right? Make sure that you give them all their equipment and devices back, and, of course, make sure you log out of everything, which companies are always good for that, revoking our access to systems and whatever, like it's really going to phase us and stuff like that. But make sure you turn in everything you do, give your passwords or whatever, and you can simply just leave. Remember that ultimately it really is your choice. And something that I always like to say, they don't give us a 2-week notice when they fire us or lay us off, right? Typically we get called into a room the day that it happens. And so if you are firing your employer, I feel like, why do we as employees always have to take the high road when employers don't always take that same road, right? Again, when they fire us, they let us go, lay us off, make organizational shifts, or go in different directions. We don't get a notice about that. We get notified that day, and then our world is rocked and changed. And when it comes to companies, when we leave, they just keep going. They find somebody else. They put another person in our seat, and they just keep it moving. So as an employee, understand that you don't always have to do things the right way. Do things your way. But I have to say that I don't want to just say, be out here just leaving your jobs and burning bridges. Make sure that you're doing what you want to do, but also understand the consequences or the pros and cons that may come with each. Understand that if you do choose not to give a 2 weeks notice, yeah, that may leave a bad taste, and that's something that you may have to bear in the future. If you're okay with that, go for it. If the thought of not being professional and not doing things the right way really bothers you, and you're really all about your brand and your reputation, then by all means give a 2 weeks notice. But understand that you may face retaliation, right? Even some of the best employees can experience retaliation after giving a 2 weeks. It just depends on the relationship and how the company is. Hopefully you don't experience that. If you do choose to give it 2 weeks, it's the right thing to do. It's the honorable thing to do. You shouldn't have to experience retaliation, but understand that it does happen. At the end of the day, do you, boo. Do exactly what it is that you want to do. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you are considering leaving your job in the near future, or you want to leave your job, like you'll be job searching soon so that you can leave your job, I hope this video has provided you with some context on whether you should or shouldn't give an official 2 weeks notice. And as always, if you are looking for assistance with your resume, you can go ahead and reach out to me directly. My email address is hello@thompsonresumes.com. You can also visit my website at www.thompsonresumes.com. And if you want to stay connected with me, you are more than welcome to follow me or connect with me on LinkedIn. My name on there is Tamika Thompson. You can also follow me on Instagram at _Mika Thompson, and you can also join my email list by clicking the link in the description box below. Thanks again so much for watching. Again, I hope you found it helpful. If you did, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Go ahead and give me a like, and I will see you guys next week with another helpful video. Bye!